Hi, my name is Amey Abhyankar. I am the founder and lead trainer at FinQuest Institute. In this video, we'll discuss interest rate swaps. This is one of the topics from the certificate course on derivatives which we offer at FinQuest Institute. The learning outcome statements for this topic include understanding the concept of interest rate derivatives. Next, we go to the structure of a plain vanilla interest rate swap, understanding the underlying rates which are used for swap pricing. Next, we discuss the role of bootstrapping and implied forward rates and why they are important for an interest rate swap. Next, we understand what we call as basis adjustment curves. Then we look at the example of pricing of an interest rate swap. Next, do we net or not net the cash flows and swaps, that we'll discuss as well. Then we'll discuss a few measures which industry participants take to minimize the credit risk which is embedded in a swap transaction. And subsequently we will discuss the applications of an interest rate swap. In this video, we'll be discussing a few points from this list. Understanding the concept of interest rate swap, or IRS for short. So an interest rate swap is a derivative contract whereby two parties enter into a transaction to exchange cash flows at periodic intervals in time. For example, if I'm entering into a swap transaction with a counterparty, let's say it's a 1 year swap with quarterly payments, then I'll be exchanging 4 payments with the counterparty throughout the 1 year. Next, we go to the structure of a plain vanilla interest rate swap. Let me go to my whiteboard. Plain vanilla interest rate swap is a transaction between two counterparties. Now, this is a swap is a OTC contract. So it trades on over the exchange, and the contract can be customized as required. A plain vanilla variety is one in which one party will pay fixed and other party will pay floating. Now, how do you arrive at the fixed rate and what would be the floating rates, that we'll see in a minute. But this is the main concept. So if we relate this to our example, our swap tenor is 1 year, and we'll have our cash flows at Q1, Q2, Q3 and Q4. So you'll have a cash flow from party A and cash flow from party B. So we'll get 4 cash flows. And moreover, these will be present value of the cash flows, because there are certain cash flows which will be received at certain time in the future. So in order to calculate the price or the mark to market of the swap, you will have to bring it back to present. So when I say cash flows, it is actually the present value of my cash flows. And once you have this, you just sum this up, sum up cash flows of A, you sum up cash flows of B, and you take a difference. Now this will give you the MTM for the swap. Now this is the structure of a plain vanilla interest rate swap. Now before we go to the pricing bit, we'll try and understand the mechanism of the underlying curves which are used in swap pricing, because these are like the building blocks on which the entire swap pricing engine is built. We'll talk about an example of a plain vanilla USD IRS. Plain vanilla USD IRS. So in this contract, we'll be fixing a certain notional on the contract, and it will be in USD terms, and the two parties will be exchanging cash flows at certain specific time in the future. So one party will pay fixed, other will pay a floating rate. Now the underlying curve which will be used for pricing this swap is what we call as a USD swaps curve. Now the curve which gets quoted in the market would look something like this. We have a tenor in the first column and we have the rate in the second column. So let's say your tenor is overnight, 1 month, 3 months, and so on up till say 1 year. Now this will give you the MTM for the swap. Now this is the structure of a plain vanilla interest rate swap. Now before we go to the pricing bit, we'll try and understand the mechanism of the underlying curves which are used in swap pricing, because these are like the building blocks on which the entire swap pricing engine is built. So we'll talk about an example of a plain vanilla USD IRS. something up till 3 years, something up till 10 years. Likewise, you'll have certain rates which we call as say R1, R2, R3, say R4 and Rn hypothetically. So whenever you look at a swaps curve which is quoted in the market, it looks somewhat like this. You'll have a tenor in the first column and you'll have the corresponding rates in the second column. Now the way in which this curve is constructed, now all these are market rates. So these are pertaining to specific products which trade in the market. So up till 1 year is what we call as cash rates. Then greater than 1 year and up to 3 year is what we call as rates which come via your FRAs or your futures. And anything which is greater than 3 years and goes beyond, these are called as the swap rates. So this is called as the short end of the tenor. This is called as maybe the medium end of the tenor, and this is the longer tenor. So this is how you construct a swaps curve. You'll have a cash rate which is there up till 1 year. So these are like the direct deposit rates which are observed in the market. Then between 1 to 3 years, it's an option. You can either use a FRA or a future. So depending on the liquidity of the contracts, you select either a FRA or a future. So liquidity is the key, because when you have liquid rates, this implies that these rates are highly efficient and these are what are actually being quoted by market participants. So it depends on the way you're looking at it, either FRA or future, either of this will do. And the longer tenor, say starting from 3 years and beyond, these are always the swap rates which get quoted in the market. So this is how you construct USD swaps curve. Now just having this curve will be more of an input to our swap pricer. Now subsequent to this, we calculate what we call as zeros. Zeros or spot rates. So we are familiar with the concept of spot rates. So spot rates are equivalent zero coupon rates for specific tenors. So to move from this column to the zero rates column, we'll need to use a bootstrapping engine. So from moving from R1 to Z1. So let's say I call my zeros as Z1, Z2, Z3. Say we'll call this as maybe Z12 and Zn. Now in order to arrive at these rates, up till 1 year, it's not a problem. These are cash rates. So you directly equate them as zero rates. So up till 1 year, your problem is solved. But beyond 1 year, you have to run a bootstrapping algorithm. So the bootstrapping algorithm will help you calculate the zero rates at respective times in future. So starting 1 year and beyond, you'll have to use a bootstrapping calculator to arrive at the respective zeros. So let's say we have Z2 years, Z3 years, etc. up till say Zn years. So this comes via a bootstrapping engine, which is a part of your swap pricer. Now, once you calculate zeros, you also require something what we call as a forward rate. Now, why do we require forward rate? We'll get to that in a minute. So you'll calculate forward rates at respective points in time. So the forward rate is based on the same no arbitrage relationship between spot rates and the implied forward rates. So if I had to give you a simple example, we'll ignore compounding for now, so as to keep the equation simple. So let's say S1 is my spot rate for 1 year S6M is my spot rate for 6 months, and F6M6M is the implied forward rate which I have to calculate. Now, this is a no arbitrage calculation, and this equality should always hold. So, this implies that an investor should, with an investment horizon of 1 year, should be indifferent to invest his funds at S1 for 1 year, or investing his money at S6M for 6 months and then reinvesting the proceeds at F6M6M for the next 6 months. So F6M6M is the 6 month rates 6 months from now. So this is what we call as the forward rate. So a similar logic would be used for constructing these forward rates, which we have marked right here. So this is like an equation which will be programmed in your model, and we'll calculate these respective implied forward rates and plug this in here. Now, how exactly this gets useful, we'll get to that in a minute. Now we'll try to use this curve in pricing of our plain vanilla interest rate swap. So let's say we have a contract between two parties A and B. And let's say A is a fixed rate payer at say 5% and B is paying a LIBOR. And let's assume this is a 1 year tenor, and it's a quarterly pay frequency, and your notional is say X dollars. So the two parties are going to exchange cash flows at 4 points in time during the year. So let's call these time points as Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. And let's say we have a CF of A and we have a CF of B. So there will be 4 cash flows here. Now calculating CF of A is easy because you have the 5% rate which is given in your contract. So this is a contract specified rate, and you can use, so this will be like a coupon payment for your cash flows at respective times in the future. So you can use this 5% and look up the notional which you have in your contract, and you have to use this for calculating your cash flow, and you just present value that. Now the present value can be calculated via your zero curve. So your zeros can be used, so the zeros which we calculated right here will be used for calculating your discount factors. So you can have additional column which says the DCF discount factors, and you can just calculate your DCFs here. So again, this will be a part of your swap pricer. So once you have your DCFs ready, you can just use that for present valuing any cash flow which occurs at respective times in the future. So Q1 through to Q4, you'll be receiving 4 cash flows based on your 5% interest rate. So let's call these amounts as say A1, A2, A3, and A4. Now this 5% rate is decided at swap initiation, and this is based on the no arbitrage principle. So if I go back to my PPT, I'm talking about the no arbitrage principle right here. So what do I mean by a no arbitrage principle? So this implies that this is the rate which will be calculated based on the curves which are being quoted at that particular day when you're entering into the swap, and this will imply that by fixing the rate at 5% on the fixed side, we are ensuring that the swap value is going to be zero at initiation. So this implies that none of the counterparties should benefit at the expense of another at swap initiation, i.e., none of the counterparties should receive a positive payoff on day zero of the swap. So this is how we calculate 5%, and this is based on the no arbitrage principle right here. Next, we'll see how implied forward rates are going to come to our rescue when we have to calculate the PV of the floating leg. So we have a floating rate which is given as LIBOR. So this will be like a USD LIBOR. Now the first cash flow we know, because this is what we call it the first fixing which is available to us when we enter into the contract. So the first rate is known, and let's call this as say LIBOR 1. Now all other rates in the future, now we would like to know what the floating rates are at points Q2, Q3 and Q4. So this is where the forward rate calculation we did is going to come to our rescue. So what we do is we'll simply look up at the forward rates curve which we have calculated, and we'll calculate the LIBORs at Q2, Q3 and Q4. So these are like the implied forward rates at respective times in the future. So using this we'll get LIBOR 2, you'll get LIBOR 3 and LIBOR 4. So once you have these floating rates, then you can use that as a coupon to calculate your cash flow on party B. So CFB can be calculated. Once you have these cash flows ready, and when I say cash flows, the PV of the cash flows, present value, you will just sum them up together. You will have a CF of A and you'll have a CF of B. So this will give the MTMs of the respective legs of the swap. Now when we have to calculate the overall MTM of the swap, you have to consider both of these MTMs. Now for an interest rate swap, we always net these two cash flows. This is so we take a difference between these two, and the difference between this will give you the MTM of your swap. Now one small adjustment may be required basis the contract which we are using. So if we have a contract like this, a 1 year tenor quarterly frequency swap, plain vanilla, then we can follow this approach. However, if we have a contract which requires this frequency to change to say semi-annual, then a small adjustment is required in the overall pricing bit. This has to do with the fact that the USD swaps curve which is quoted in the market is quoted on a quarterly basis. Now in case our requirement of the contract is that we require a semi-annual frequency, then we'll have to do a small adjustment on this curve and then use it in our pricing calculation. So the market provides this adjustment curve. This is what we call as the basis curve. So how do we use basis in the overall calculation? We'll discuss it now. So the market quotes what we call as a basis curve whenever you require this kind of adjustment, and we call that as a 3M, 6M basis. So it could start at the 1 year point, say 1 year, 2 years, we adjust the swap pricing using this curve. So when we are calculating, now we have two things which we'll have to consider. One is discounting of your cash flows. And one is your forward rate calculation. So these are the two tenets on which the swap pricing is based. So discounting of your cash flows will be based on the DCFs which you calculate via your zeros, which you calculate via your bootstrapping engine. So this will remain the same. Your DCFs will not change. So your DCF will be based on the USD swaps curve. However, when you're calculating your forward rates, that is where you have to use this basis adjustment, that is a 3M, 6M basis, which is quoted in the market. And you have to make this adjustment on the zeros which you have calculated, and then you use this new curve to calculate your new forward rates. So this could be, let's call this as forward rate 1, which could be based only on your USD swaps curve. And next, let's call something as the forward rate 2, which will be based on your basis adjustment. So in case you have a swap which requires semi-annual payments, you'll use this basis adjusted curve to calculate forward rate 2. And once you get forward rate 2, you can use those rates for calculating your implied. So to calculate your forward rates, you'll use your basis adjusted curve. So this is what we call as the basis adjustment, and we have already spoken about netting. So you will always net the cash flows. So whatever cash flows you receive on both the legs of the swap, you will net that cash flow and get a single amount, which we call as the MTM for the swap. So more about interest rate swaps and other interesting derivatives which trade in the market, we will be discussing them in our certificate course on derivatives. So do sign up for the course, and looking forward to meeting you there. Thank you.